All right, guys. Hi, and welcome to our next episode of AuthenticiTEA. My name is Megan Meisler, and I am the Executive Director at Lutheran Counseling Services in Orlando, Florida, where we're committed to creating safe places to share your story. And we're using this platform as hopefully a safe place to have authentic conversations about mental health and about all the weirdness that's going on in our world today. So I have invited Pastor Chris from Holy Cross. How are you today, sir?
Good. I'm just thrilled that you said we're talking about all the weirdness, and our next guest is Pastor Chris from Holy Cross. That's fantastic.
Well, that was a perfect way. So I kind of suckered you in coming on here with me. So introduce yourself, tell us who you are, and how you know LCS.
Sure. So, yeah, I've been a pastor here in North Orlando in Lake Mary, Florida I've been with Holy Cross for about 17 years now. And I'm just a huge proponent of counseling. I'm a youth pastor, family life pastor up here. And I just think so many times, and I guess it's becoming less and less, but so many times it feels like counseling is kind of that thing that maybe we shouldn't do, or, and I just want to kind of pull the veil away from that and say that, no, I think the world would be a better place if everybody was forced to go to counseling. Everybody needs to share their story, and you got to find somebody that you can share it with. But it's not just, so many times we deal with friends who are not equipped, and we try to unpackage that because we trust them. And I always say to my people that I'm talking to, listen, I'm not a professional counselor. My job is to convince you that you should go talk to a professional counselor. I love you and I want to help you, but for me, it's been critical, and LCS has been a key component. We've sent a lot of people over, and you guys have helped a great deal. So we are extremely thankful for our partnership with LCS.
Aw, thank you very much. And so tell us what life has been like COVID-wise. You guys are doing some unique things over there. I'd love to hear a little bit about them. So could you share?
So since the title is being authentic, I mean, I'm an extrovert. I hate this. I hate COVID. I'm working on my own vaccine right now. It's not going well. I'm asking you if you could be part of the trial. No, I hate it.
No.
My daughter and I are. What, you won't do it? All right. Well, I guess we're gonna just have to wait, Megan. So my daughter and I are big extroverts. We are extroverts. We get our life from being around other people. This has been horrible. My wife and my son are pretty introverted. So it's interesting, their ideal night is, hey, let's watch a movie, let's order food in. So this is played right into their love languages of distance. I don't know if that's a love language, but they like physical distance, social distance. That's not a love language. Am I wrong with that?
No, okay, well. It's not. No, it's really not.
Wait. So I thought words of affirmation, social distance. No, I've got a couple books missed.
No, physical touch, which is the opposite of social distancing.
Oh. See, I'm not good at this. See, that's why I don't do your job. So yeah. Anyway, it's not been good. And we have tried a lot of things. We do this show every day like you have been doing. And we've been doing that 4 days a week and trying to connect. because people are still finding community. And I don't want them to find it in their cable channel. I want them to find it, their community in us, and I want them to find their community in you. And we can't produce 24 hours worth of content. Lord, we can't do that. But we can produce 45 minutes of content and some Bible studies and things like that, and try to help people feel connected. And trying to make, with Pastor Matt, who's our senior pastor, some of the toughest decisions that we've ever had to make in ministry. Because ultimately, and you have to too, now that you're the big dog down there, you have to make some tough decisions. And I was saying to Matt the other day, Pastor Matt, I was like, they're not going to come back at me if 20 people at Holy Cross get COVID 4 months from now. They're going to come back at you. You're the senior pastor, and that's liability, and that's there's a lot of things that go into, because you get this push. You have half the community that says we should be meeting in church right now, and you have the other half of the community that says, why on earth would you meet? And they're both very passionate about their beliefs, and they both are saying, and they're the same body of Christ. And so it's been tough for sure.
I think you said to me at the beginning of this, like, you haven't had to make these kind of difficult decisions in all of your years of ministry. So,
no,
I mean, nobody trained you for this. No, there was no course in COVID at the seminary.
No.
So how have you guys been, how do you work that through your team, this whole piece of these new decisions?
So when I went to seminary, I was told that you only have to work on Sundays. And so this is really like maybe a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but I mean, I've been putting in 4 or 5 days a week now, Megan. This has been pretty tough. I kid. So yeah, I'm blessed because we have a really good team. We have a great team, and we do have a lot of medical professionals that go to Holy Cross, but it is, the other flip side of it is, again, you have medical professionals that are telling you should wear masks like everywhere you go outside your house. And then you have other medical professionals that are telling you, you don't probably need masks, So the challenging part is trying to find news that you can actually trust. Like, who do we trust, as we go forward? And now I saw in the news today that Disney has submitted a plan to open in July. I just can't even imagine how that's going to look. Universal Studios is going to open. I'm not sure if FunSpot is closed during this whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. That's when are we going to be able to go back to Golden Corral and all dip our hands in the chocolate fountain? Probably never. I don't know. But anywho, we've had to make some decisions. It's been tough. The toughest thing that I've had to kind of oversee, we are known for our Vacation Bible School. We get 400 kids, 200 kids a week. We have 300 volunteers. We have artists that come in and design sets. And it's so funny, Megan, because I'll get an email that'll be like, please tell me you are not doing VBS this year. And literally I'll click on the next one and it'll be, please tell me you are doing a live VBS this year. I'm like, oh my gosh. So we're just trying to pray about this. We're trying to really be cautious. We didn't want to be the first ones to come back live. We're trying to have conversations with our partners, community partners. We're trying to have conversations with people in the medical field that we trust. And we're seeing what other churches do. And right now, it's we're going to come back with live services on June 7th. We're going to do 2 services, a traditional and a contemporary. And we're not going to come back with kids' church yet. And we're just, we spent weeks sanitizing everything, just like everybody else, and spreading out chairs. It looks really weird. It's been super weird as a pastor to preach to an empty, room. It's so weird. And
Yeah.
because usually you get some kind of reaction, and you know, the only person is the sound booth person, and the sound booth person isn't paying any attention to you. They're just making sure that people can hear you. So you're like, you'll tell a good joke or a good story, and you're like, huh? And you get nothing.
Do the
You get
sound booth
chirps back.
people listen anyways, Chris? Like, do you think sound booth people listen to you normally? Because my experience in the sound booth is
Yeah.
no.
Sometimes I'll say something just to see if they're with me, you know, but yeah, no, I just don't want them falling asleep back there. I mean, we think, golly, the volunteers, they got to do something. Come on. No, they do kind of listen. And it's just been weird. It's been weird. I don't know if you're an introvert or an extrovert. I don't know what you are. But.
I am super extroverted, and I have 3 kids though, so I feel like maybe I'll end up an introvert after this because they are driving me a little bit nuts. But I think some of the pieces that you were talking about, like we're experiencing here at LCS, is like we want to be a safe place for people. And for some people, that would mean wearing a mask. And for other people, it would mean not wearing a mask. Like to wear a mask and see a 5-year-old would be terrifying because I'm trying to teach them to read people's faces, you know? So it's this. And then we have like our liability insurance who's like, you just need to stay telehealth unless it necessitates not. And so it's like you said, all these conflicting messages, all these, you know, extra questions we're having to ask clients and still try to provide a place where you feel safe. And that's just like mind boggling to me because what makes me feel safe might not make you feel safe. And I think the church is experiencing some of the same things.
It's so true. It's really true. And you're like, and you still have counseling to do. Like you still have work to do. You still have people to see. Like one of the challenging things that happened with me recently was I got, right when this thing hit, I got called over to an assisted living home because they had given somebody 24 hours to live. And so the family said, we really want you to come in and pray. And so I drive over to Daytona and I get over there. And now I'm not even sure they're going to let me in at that point. And, you know, they're taking my temperature. They're putting a mask on, putting gloves on, like I'm going into surgery. And I'm the last person you want to perform a surgery. So I go in there and I'm talking to them and we do the final prayer. And I hop in the car and I drive back to Lake Mary and I get the same call. Like, hey, we need you to come to assisted living. He's not going to, 24 hours, not going to make it. So I get up to assisted living. And the lady, rightfully so, is saying, listen, I don't think I can let you inside. I have to make sure everybody's safe. And I get it, you know, but then the family's like, no, this is our pastor. He's coming in, take his temperature, you know, and it's just like these tense moments that I'm like, as you said earlier, nobody prepared you for this. Like we didn't get a pamphlet as we were walking out the door that said, so you're facing a worldwide pandemic. Here's 10 things to do, you know? No, we didn't get any of that. It's just been surreal. And I thought the Black Plague was never going to hit us or whatever, you know?
I think that too is just like, and we've been taught, and I know we were taught at school, like we lead with grace. And so maybe one scenario is going to be one way. And then like you said, then I'll turn around in the car and I'll hit a whole nother situation. But I saw
so
also
unique.
on social media, you did the graduation for Holy Cross Academy. Like I saw you speaking every once in a while. I like stop you. But anyways, so I saw you speaking up there, and who was that weird? I mean, you had a couple people there, but I was at the last graduation, which was the first one. So this was the second one. So how did that go?
Yeah. So it was tough. Well, first off, you know, our school is growing and growing and growing, but the high school was this senior class was pretty small, and they could only invite 10 people to come to their graduation. And so that's tough, you know, because we not had our building open for anything besides a couple of counseling sessions, but certainly not our sanctuary has not been open since, you know, March or whatever. And so I think the education staff kind of teetered back and forth as to, are we going to have a graduation? Are we not going to have a graduation? And then they did, and they did it, you know, with good distancing, but basically what that required was that every graduate could only have 10 people. And so then when we were not speaking, I had to wear a mask, and then you get up there, you take your mask off. And I was just like, man, can you imagine, Megan, if somebody came to you in June of last year and said, hey, Megan, I would buy, if I were you, I would buy a mask. I would buy about 100 rolls of toilet paper, and I would buy all the soap that you can. I'm future Megan. And then just poof, like if future Megan came to you in June of last year and said, buy 100 rolls of toilet paper.
No, it's like, you're crazy.
Right, you're crazy.
And my husband works at Lowe's. Like, the Lowe's has been great because they're giving their employees toilet paper first. Well, some of them. So I was like, babe, grab it. He gets there at 5 a.m. I'm like, find it.
Well, I saw that meme that said it was something about like the next thing we were supposed to get are like killer wasp or whatever, like, did you see that? And like the person said, okay, killer wasp, how much toilet paper do I need? Like, that's going to be the question from now on. How many rolls of toilet paper?
Yeah. Well, I think in all this anxiety, all this craziness, and for us extroverts, I love hearing from people, what do you do for self-care? Like, has it changed? Are you able to do some of your same habits, or is it looking totally different? Or do you not do it?
Listen, here's the thing. I was joking. We were doing our podcast today, and I was joking with Matt and with Paul. And I said, out of the three of us, Megan really should be talking to one of you two. You are way more stable than I am. If we're going to be authentic about this. No, but it's funny. I had all these big plans. I wanted, as soon as it happened, like, I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to ride my bike more. And then I rode it twice. And then I was like, I don't like biking. This kind of stinks. And then I'm like, let's go for walks at night. And then we went for a walk, and it's like, we're all like, walking kind of stinks. I wish I could come on here and say, man, I have really been killing it when it comes to self-care. But, there's, I think the best thing that I've done, the best thing we've done is when it first hit, some of our friends came over, and they had chairs set up, and they came in the front lawn, and they just set up their chairs, and it was so cool to just kind of hang out again. And I think, if I'm just being 100% honest, like, that's the part that bums me out the most about all this, is not just being able to, I'm spontaneous. I like, hey, what are you guys doing? Can we come up? Like, we're going to come over, and that's kind of been ripped away, that kind of stuff, where you can just, it feels like, and it's weird too, because like, I know we're all thinking that like we're seeing things opening, Universal's opening, Disney's opening. But is anything really honestly any different? Yeah. Like, I don't think so. I think what we tried to do is, everybody, rightfully so, was kind of afraid that, hospitals were going to be overwhelmed, and flattening the curve was so popular of a statement. And now we're kind of seeing that maybe, we won't have to be in a tent outside of a hospital. And so people are kind of relieved. But I don't know, like, eventually, Megan, don't you think you have to like say, I'm going to be responsible. I'm going to wash my hands and not pick my nose as much, but maybe I need to go start living life, like, maybe I got to do that.
I completely agree. And it's funny, like, it is self-care, like, especially for us extroverts, to be around people. Like, we need it. I'm married to an introvert. He doesn't need it as much. And one of the things that I've done that I haven't been so public about, because I don't want to be like, lashed out at, was like, we have made friends with our neighbors. Like, we hang out in driveways where like people don't normally hang out in driveways. We hang out in driveways, to the point where like Mother's Day, we found these cool like tank tops that say driveway drinkers. So we all have these like driveway shirts.
Exactly.
So it's our new like club, but I'm an extrovert and I need people. And that's what I've been missing. And I was thinking, like, when you're like, oh yeah, I got on the bike and that wasn't fun. It's not gonna be fun, Chris. You're an extrovert. You ride a bike by yourself. Like, what's meet any need of that for you?
Yeah. No, and we did this, Pastor Zach over at the Cross Mount Dora, he was doing this fundraiser for Lake Cares, and they were going to do this big golf tournament where he was going to challenge a golf pro to, play. And he invited me over to like basically be his coach and kind of like antagonize the golf pro, so he had a shot at winning. So like the golf pro's taking a swing back, and I'm like blowing an air horn, trying to throw him off and having all kinds of fun with it. And it was like the best day that I've had in the last 2 months. It was so fun. And, it was just being in the golf cart with a friend, and I'm going down tonight to see Pastor Ben. And it's just kind of nice to like hang out again. That's the stuff that I missed. Don't get me wrong, just like you, I love my family dearly, but like, it is interesting that like so many times I would see my wife like 3 or 4 hours a day. And then she works in commercial real estate, manages some properties. And so she would work from home, and, all of a sudden we're literally together 24 hours. And I remember saying to her, and she said to me, I love you, but I could never work with you. Like we could not. No, and we couldn't. We could never have a business together. I don't know how people do it.
Hey, you're preaching to the choir over here. I got my mom and my dad working for me right now. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I love them dearly and they're doing a great job, but working with your family, I wouldn't work with my husband though, you're right. For sure.
Well, it's like, with the Hoyers, they have a dynasty over here at Holy Cross. You got Paul and Ben, and Betty just retired, and now you got Jacob, who's I think 13 or 14. No, I'm just kidding. He's also runs his own church. I'm just kidding. I love Jake.
Be careful. His wife is head of our board here, so be nice. We love them.
I love Erin Hoyer dearly. She's fantastic. Great human being.
She is fantastic. So I told you that you could ask me anything.
Oh yeah.
Anything. Do you have any questions? You make me nervous.
Yeah. So what's the worst sin you've ever committed? No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. That's how we start pastor meetings. So seriously, what would be your advice for families who are like your family? Like I have 2 extroverts, 2 introverts, and it feels like the balancing act in this whole thing is super hard. It feels like the times that my daughter and I really feel like we're out there and doing stuff, like they're a little bit more miserable. So like trying to balance the fine tune of the extrovert and introverts in our family during COVID has been very, very difficult. I'm just curious how I'm not entirely sure how I would answer that. So I'm curious how the professional would.
So I would encourage to use the words. Like in my house, I've shared on here a lot. Like I have a son on the autism spectrum, my oldest, and he's very introverted. And he is like the bluntest person, right? He's like, I need my alone time. Like I'm out. And I'm like, okay. And then, and then we talk openly about it. And so sometimes, especially with my husband, I'll be like, I'm going outside with the neighbors, but I need some people time. And he's like, he works at Lowe's all day. So he's like, I'm done with people. And so it's not this where I'm mad at you and I don't want to be around you. It's this is what I need and this is what you need. And then we have 2 girls. My middle one's very extroverted. So, my son will be like, why is she always going over with her friends? I was like, because if she doesn't, she might kill us all. So we're sending her. Exactly. Right. But I think you talk about it. I think you say it. I think you name it. And then you clarify that it's not that I don't like being around you, but it is what I need. So that would be my recommendation.
No,
it doesn't always work out beautifully, but yeah.
That's great. Well, it's interesting because so that's kind of my dynamic at home and also at work. Pastor Matt, who is our senior pastor, is a well-known introvert. Like we'll get done doing like 8, 9:30 and 11 o'clock services. And I'm like, hey, this is great. And he's like, I don't want to talk to anybody for the next, 3 hours. Like he wants to go, home right away or lock himself in his office. And it's not because he hates people. It's just because that took a lot for him to just greet 500 people and do all of that. So it's the same thing kind of with my wife too. I love them both dearly, but we're just so different. And I don't think I would be able to handle being married to me. Yeah.
I had to learn it early on in my marriage that like he doesn't just want me to invite the whole neighborhood over at the end of the day,
Right.
like I would love to
Yeah.
do. Or even like some
Yeah.
pastors that we've had as our pastors, like you get to the
Yeah.
end of 11 o'clock service and they peace out, and we want to be
Yeah.
kind of offended.
Yeah.
But when he can just honestly say, like, I am exhausted, this is not
Yeah.
what fills me, it's what drains me, then I'm totally fine. Like I can
Right.
understand where you're coming from. And I think those things are important to do.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
Well, I thank you for your time. Tell us a
Yeah.
little bit, because I want people who are watching to know about you call it Unscripted, right? When do you do it and how
Yeah.
do they see it?
Yeah. So we just wanted to, we did a couple of unique things the last week. Like our service, we do completely live, and we encourage people to participate during our service. Like you can text in questions, you can Facebook, you can, YouTube questions in. But then we were like, let's take it one step further. And we had a lot of people like before COVID that said, we want to have an after the sermon, like question and answer. And we'd love to do that like on Sunday. And we're like, we're not doing that on Sunday. You're not going to do that at noon right after you preach 3 times. So we started Unscripted with the idea that it was going to be like after the sermon, ask us anything you want to do. The next day, we're refreshed, go for it. You had questions, whatever. And then it kind of went to like, let's present some good news on Tuesday. And on Wednesday, let's talk about real life situations. And so we always try to mix it with like fun stuff that's positive. And then we always end it with like encouraging scripture as well. So that's every day at 1:30, Monday through Thursday. And then Friday we take off. But and that's on our Facebook page, Holy Cross Lake Mary, or our YouTube, HCLM. And it's just been really fun. And it's been very, very positive feedback. So I'm just glad, thank God we have this technology. I've said a million times,
Right.
It stinks that we're going through this, but I'm so glad that it's not 1850, like I'm so glad that we have Facebook, and I think Pastor Matt still uses MySpace. So no, I'm just kidding.
I think as a mental health professional, I'm glad we have these things, because I can't even begin to imagine if we weren't able to connect with each other, the crisis
Yeah.
that would go on in our world.
It would be awful. Yeah, it would be awful. But no, it's been good. And so thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. I sent you a little treat. I hope you got it. Are you drinking tea, or what are you drinking today?
It's so funny. I just had a cup of coffee prior to this because I needed it to get through with Paul and Matt on the scripted. But I had a cup of that water with that Mio stuff in it, that little, you squirt it in there. It's really, really good. But yeah, I have not got what you said, but I'm
You're
sure
gonna get it? Okay.
I didn't.
I will see where it went.
Okay.
I sent you some tea.
I love it. That's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. I do enjoy a good cup of tea.
If we're being authentic, I'm not drinking tea today because I have had like 10 clients back to back and I needed coffee. So I have coffee.
And that's authenticity. Authentic.
And that's authentic. Yes. Well, thank you, Pastor Chris, for your time. I really appreciate it. I love what you guys are doing at Holy Cross. So thanks for joining me. I'll be on tomorrow. Or no, what day is today?
Today,
Wednesday.
I believe
I'll be
Wednesday.
back on Friday. Whenever I figure out what day it is, I'll show back up. Okay.
Fantastic. That's awesome.
Thanks, Chris. Have a good day.
You
Bye.
too.